Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. Well, the latest news coming out of Israel is about this terrorist attack which took place, and the latest news is that two have now died, succumbed from the wounds. This is from ynetnews.com. Israeli military raids home, arrests brother of Ariel attacker. So the Israeli military raided the home of suspected Ariel attacker and arrested his teenage brother Monday morning. The security forces also questioned the father of the suspect and search a store belonging to the family. It goes on here. The IDF launched a massive manhunt for Lila on Sunday after he shot dead 19-year-old Staff Sergeant Gal Kaiden and wounded two others, one seriously, one critically, in a shooting and stabbing attack close to the West Bank settlement of Ariel. One of the victims, Rabbi Ahid Aitinger, died Monday morning of wounds he sustained in the attack. He was the father of 12. So this is who they're going after, another terrorist attack in Israel, and Israel deals with this routinely. This is nearly an everyday event. There's something going on in related to Palestinians acting out, doing what they think is required to bring peace, I guess, or upset Israel to the point where they initiate World War III effectively in the Middle East. Basically what they're trying to do, similar to what they do on the Temple Mount, is try to incite a holy war so that other Arab nations come to the aid of Gaza, of the Palestinians, and start a holy war to fight Israel. And this is what they continue to do in their apparent want, their stated goal of wiping Israel off the map. Really, they don't want Israel to be around there. It's not that they want to share the land with Israel. It's that they want Israel out of there. Well, this one is Palestinians distribute sweets after terrorist attacks. So this is kind of how I don't know what you call it, how sick they are about the terrorist attacks. They celebrate, they have parties, and they distribute sweets after the terrorist attack in Ariel. Distribution of candy in the southern Gaza Strip, Khan Yunis, to celebrate the heroic morning. The tweet translates, it says. Palestinians distributed tweets in celebration of the attack. So they have the Twitter comment there. It says, this one guy, Arsen Otrovsky, just sick, vile, barbaric, Palestinians in Khan Yunis now handing out sweets in celebration of this morning's terror attack. So you can get an idea for, at minimum, what Hamas thinks about the terrorist attacks. And these Palestinians in general are taught from a birth, basically, to hate Israel, and they're taught how to conduct terrorist attacks. I won't go into the details of it, but they're indoctrinated from the ground up, from a young age, to hate Israel, and there's no need for it. There's no need to hate Israel, but they teach this in their schools, and this is they incite hatred in their own population against Israel for no particular reason. This is an article that I think I mentioned before. I didn't really look into, but 50 Iranian drones conduct massive way to Jerusalem exercise. So it's Iran's stated goal that Israel will be wiped off the map and wiped into the sea, pushed into the sea. They want to get rid of Israel. That's their stated goal, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to come up with alliances in Syria to do this. It says the point of the drill is to show Iran's military prowess. It comes in the wake of a large naval drill in February and frequent new tests of ballistic missiles. So they've got drones which are fashioned after the U.S. Sentinel drone, one that Iran captured in 2011. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it was the strongest exercise of its kind to date. So they're looking to create basically a swath of drones, drone aircraft, basically, that could go into Israel and basically fight a war in Israel. And Israel, could take down these drones with their air defense systems. But likely, if you send 50 of them all in a swarm, a bunch of them are going to get through. Probably a whole bunch of them are going to get through. And there will be a lot of success with this. It says it was the first time, Iran says, that so many drones operated simultaneously in an offensive operation at distances of more than 1,000 kilometers away from each other. They trained to strike predetermined targets with high precision. IRGC Ground Force Commander Major General Gholam Ali Rahid boasted that while the U.S. has said Iran is failing after 40 years of the Islamic Revolution, in fact, today we are witnessing the strongest maneuvers of the IRGC's aerospace forces. It says enemies, and you could translate that the little Satan Israel, the big Satan's in the U.S., by the way. Did you know that if you're in the U.S., you're the great Satan? Enemies would be humiliated and feel shame. And of course, the enemy that they're talking about, their publicly stated enemy, is Israel. And so that's what they're trying to do. One article I want to finish off with here is, this is an article from 2017. It's from breakingisraelnews.com, and it's about the temple sacrifice. And the fact that they could start the sacrifice at any time, and the rabbis have deemed it as still a requirement to do the Passover sacrifice, and they basically stated in 2017 that they could set up a sacrifice within 1 hour if it was absolutely necessary. Basically, from the going forth of the command, if you will, for peace and security. I know that's in reference to the rebuilding of Jerusalem, but they could set it up within 1 hour if they got a command, if they got a go-ahead, if they got a proclamation from an Antichrist figure that there would be peace in the land and that the Jews had a place on the Temple Mount, maybe to rebuild the third temple. Well, they could institute temple sacrifices within 1 hour. It says Jews are required by the Torah to bring a Passover sacrifice today, and failure to do so is one of the worst sins possible, it says, asserted the temple expert Rabbi Chaim Richman in the most controversial video yet. As provocative as it sounds, there is no rabbinic authority that disputes this. So the religious figures in Israel effectively all are on the same page that the fact that sacrifices are required. They just need to actually get there and get a third temple. It says everything stands ready to make this 2,000-year dream of Jewish people materialize. It says, let's see, from Exodus 12:24, and ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. Exodus 12:24. It says, despite various issues of Jewish law, such a ritual impurity, lack of a high priest, and lack of an altar, Jews are still required and able to bring sacrifice, the rabbi declares. Now, of course, in the past year, 2018, I believe it was, they came out and created an altar. They basically made it out of poured concrete, effectively, because the stones for the altar cannot be quarried with metal tools of any sort. And so they've got an altar, and they did, I don't know if they called it a sacrifice, but they burned the leg of an animal on the altar. I'd have to go back and look at that. But they have the altar now, and that was created last year. It says, I am surprised this subject still comes up, Rabbi Weiss says. This was settled by Jewish law over 100 years ago, i.e. that they needed to perform the sacrifice, when it was decided that the requirement still existed. It says, so what happened? It says, in this case, the sacrifice is stopped by Israel's government. The Jewish police recently rejected a petition from the Sanhedrin from holding a reenactment of the Passover sacrifice in Davidson Center, an archaeological park adjacent to the Western Wall. The area has no significance to Islam, but the Israeli police are concerned that this open display of the temple ceremony will lead to Islamic violence. So it's the Israeli government itself which is stopping all reenactment of this. Really, the Jews are prevented from enacting large parts of their religion, of their faith, simply, and this is incredible, simply because it could cause violence on the Temple Mount, Islamic violence nonetheless. So they're preventing the Jews from doing something peaceful simply because the Muslims, the Arabs around there, would effectively get riled up because of it. It's incredible, the double standard. the fact that Israel can't do anything, the Jews can't do anything, all because of violence on the other side. It says the man responsible for preparing the Temple Mount for the sacrifice is Yaakov Haman, head of Friends of the Temple organization. He stated that everything stands ready to perform the sacrifice. And here's the interesting part. If the government gave us permission 24 hours in advance, it would be difficult, but I am sure we would find a way to make it happen, he says, speaking of the sacrifice. The main difficulty is that the altar has to be built from the correct stones in the correct place. It says, Exodus 20, and this is a key verse about the sacrifice itself. And if thou make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it from hewn stones, i.e. cut by man, for if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast profaned it. So Haman notes that the stones from the altar may not be quarried. It says, I am working on a project of gathering together stones and numbering them so they can be assembled immediately within 1 hour. It won't be ready for this year, though. Monday is the day the sacrifice should be brought, and that seems unlikely. But for next year, we certainly need to be prepared. So this was in 2017. In 2018, this was April 2017. In 2018, indeed, they had the altar created, not of hewn stones. It was effectively poured concrete, so that no metal was used to create the stones. And so they have the altar there. They're ready for sacrifices. At this point, all they need, and so that was 2018, all they need is a suitable red heifer, so that they can purify that, so that the ashes of the red heifer can be used to purify. And of course, this isn't stuff that Christians are looking forward to. Indeed, the Jews don't need this. All they need to be right with God is to recognize Jesus Christ as their Messiah. But they won't do that. The Bible speaks of a different future than that. First will be the initiation of the temple sacrifices, and that will go on for 3.5 years. At the start of the 7-year tribulation, they'll get their third temple, or get the ability to pray and sacrifice on the Temple Mount. That will go on for 3.5 years until the Antichrist decides to sit in the temple, and the abomination of desolation occurs. And then when he does that, then the Jews will recognize that, the Antichrist is not by the Messiah by any stretch. And finally they will recognize and call upon God again and recognize Jesus Christ as their Messiah. But effectively it takes the 7-year tribulation to get them to that point. So, interesting information. We can see the timeline of events from 2017, from them calling on it that they could do sacrifices within an hour if they needed to, and the suggestion that they were going to rebuild the altar. And then 2018, they rebuild the altar, effectively out of poured concrete, if I recall. And then, so we're sitting here in 2019. What could happen in 2019? Could we see a temple sacrifice? I think we absolutely could. If the peace deal goes through, the deal of the century after the April elections, then we could see that timeline be fulfilled, where if a peace deal was implemented and initiated, that maybe the carrot on the end of the stick for the Jewish people to accept a peace deal, to accept giving away large swaths of land and Jerusalem, specifically the dividing of Jerusalem, to the Palestinians, would be that the Jews maybe could go up on the Temple Mount and pray and sacrifice and practice their religion. And that would be the ultimate carrot on the stick. And that I think that would certainly convince the Jewish people to sacrifice land, to use that term, sacrifice a significant amount of land in order to be able to sacrifice in terms of their religion in the third temple. So these are interesting events that are coming. We can see the timeline, 2017, the call for it, the suggestion that they could do it within an hour. 2018, they have the altar. 2019, could the red heifer be ready in 2019, ready for temple sacrifices? We're on a timeline, and the timeline is quickening, and we have the deal of the century coming up. This could be the events that are going to be fulfilled. This could be the timeline that we're seeing in front of us. It's a pretty exciting time to be alive. We see Bible prophecy being fulfilled. We don't want the Jews to rebuild the third temple, but we know when it happens, we know end-time Bible prophecy is being fulfilled quickly. and once it starts going down, that really kicks off the stopwatch, if you will, the last 7 years of the history of the world. And if that is close, then where is the rapture? Could be even closer. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there. We'll see you guys in the next video.